Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back for a successful Talking Tactics. See, I knew we could get there in the end. This time discussing Aston Villa 2, Leicester City 1. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We are marching on to 5K. We're literally 30, I think, away now from the big 5K. So that would be amazing if we could hit it this week. So like and subscribe and get your comments in, your thoughts from a tactical perspective on the victory against Leicester on Saturday. Gareth, great to see you, mate. Yes, a successful one, but we were just talking before we came on, in terms of what things to highlight, what things to talk about. And to be honest, there wasn't a great deal to really reflect on.
No. As you were saying, we were just talking about it. It was quite uneventful. Is there anything you want to talk about? Well, not particularly, but I mean, yeah, I mean, a win to win, isn't it? That's what we should
Exactly.
say first of all. Of course, we made a bit hard work of it, but I think overall it was a bit more a touch improved. So, yeah, a win to win, and they're the sort of games that we've talked about that we should be winning, especially at home.
Yeah, exactly. And look, we talked a bit before in the transfer talk special. I think we talked about goals needed to come from other players within the team, and Ross Barkley's chipped in with some key goals so far this season, and obviously good to see Leon Bailey get off the mark in 2025 season. And hopefully that's a springboard for him to move forward. He didn't have the best of games, to be honest, particularly that first half, but you could almost see the weight lift off his shoulders when he scored.
Yeah, he didn't have the best of games, did he? But yeah, and I think he was quite pleased, obviously, as you would be to score. But yeah, you just want a little bit more out of him, really, still, don't you? Overall, I think Barkley, as you say, scoring was good. I thought he played reasonably well. So again, a bit no one really had a sort of an 8 out of 10, did they really? But like I said, a win's a win, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into it. Tailor the tape in terms of main statistics. Anything for you to kind of pick out here specifically for Aston Villa or for Leicester?
Yeah, similar to the last game, we talked about field tilt, which is the amount of possession time spent in the opposition final third, and again we're looking at Villa sort of in the 60%, 69%, which is really good. We're spending a lot of time in these final third areas. Just need to be a little bit more productive with it, I think, and we're seeing we dominated the possession, as you can see there, and our sort of Leicester made more tackles because they were defending that little bit more for us, but. Yeah, the PPDA is one that I would pick out. The 6.41 from us, we're normally in the sort of, the 9s, the 10s, the 11s, the 12s. So to see us at just 6.41 is good for us. It means we pressed a little bit more intensely. We pressed a little bit higher. So that's something to note and see if that carries on moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was almost like we would win the ball back quite quickly and look to win the ball back. But then when we got the ball, we'd kind of just mess around with it and just play the ball either between Konza and Mings or play the ball in between Kamara and Barkley and not really, go for those progressive, incisive passes.
Yeah, I think in the first half it was more a 4-4-2, which was okay, but in the second half he changed it almost more to a 4-2-2-2, which we've seen before, which was a little bit better, and it tended to we could progress the ball centrally a lot better, and I think that worked a little bit better for us because we've said it before, reverting back to what we knew and what we did so well would probably be more beneficial to us. And in the second half he switched it a little bit, and he did make a little bit more of a difference. I felt keep it in terms of keeping hold of the ball.
Yeah, definitely. So, in the terms of the passing sonars, again, anything here? Obviously, I know John McGinn had to go off early, but yeah, what did you pick out from kind of the direction of the passes and where we were set up?
Yeah, I think just playing nice and high. You can see there we're a lot higher than what we were when Diego Carlos and Pau Torres were with the two centre halves in the last game. We're playing a lot higher up the pitch, and I think Tyrone brings that. I think he likes to bring that defensive line up. But did we utilise Luca Digne again enough? No, I don't think we did. And you can see that Watkins is playing the ball more centrally, as is John McGinn. Yeah, and a lot of passes you can see there, even though there's more frequency going right, it's more sort of effort going to that left-hand side. So we're clearly trying to play into more central areas.
Yeah, and Leicester, I mean, pretty defensive. Would you say there?
Yeah, granted, it's a hard one to decipher really here because
Yeah,
compact Leicester and everything. But yeah, they wanted to make it sort of tight across that middle third, and then when they drop deeper, be compact centrally. So again, it was hard for us. But I think that's why he changed it in the second half, was because just to penetrate centrally, even though they were trying to crowd it out, get more bodies in there and see how we could do in there.
And in terms of the shot map and the kind of XG, anything again to talk about? 3 big chances there for both sides. That's interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, because it was difficult for us because we're shooting for. We can see a lot of those shots from that right hand side of Leon Bailey curling in, coming in and having a go on his left foot, but we just need to be that little bit more potent, I think, and you've got some good chances there apart from the goal in really good sort of, let's say, 5 good chances in central areas. We've just got to be a little bit more clinical, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's pinning towards the kind of Leon Bailey off the underside of the bar. Then it goes to Emi Buendia right in the middle of the goal. He miskicks it, and then it goes to Ollie Watkins off a rebound, and he then puts it over the bar with his left foot. And this is where the criticism comes of, I guess, Ollie Watkins. He does so much good work for the team. You saw it 2 or 3 minutes later where he's running the channels, he's battling through defenders, he's lays off with Emi Buendia for another chance. But games or goals at key times where you're 2-1 up, you get that goal, it makes it 3-1, game put to bed. Brighton 2-2, last minute, you got a chance from a corner, you put it over the bar. It's these moments where other strikers, more clinical strikers, while they wouldn't probably do the work that he does, or they would still miss chances, it's almost like the time frame that you score the goals, or the period of the game, and what situation the game's in that really matters with him.
Yeah, you almost want him to be a striker, don't you? Rather than sort of that workhorse, and stay in the box. I noticed he drifted out wide left a lot, didn't he, on Saturday? And I thought that was quite unusual for him, because even though he does drift out there, he doesn't spend as much time out there as what I thought he did. He did more so on Saturday. Just get in the box, Ollie, and be a striker.
Yeah. In terms of the timeline, again, anything to sort of talk about here with regards to when we had the chances, when we stepped up?
Yeah, just think first half there was nothing, was there, from anybody?
It was
really,
one of the worst halves of football we've seen in a long time.
It was terrible, both sides. And I think second half it just had to improve, and which wasn't difficult, of course. And those late chances, we can see those 3 late chances that you're talking about just there. So, and Leon Bailey getting the goal. But yeah, the flurry of late chances meant that we could have made the game a little bit more comfortable than we did. Nothing from Leicester on from 60 minutes though. So
yeah, that's it. That's good to show that we controlled it a bit better as well. In terms of the expected threat, and in terms of this timeline, anything to talk about here?
Yeah, I mean, dominating the game pretty much. You can see high levels of expected threat sort of early on in the game, and then in periods where, especially where the Leon Bailey goal was on 76 minutes. So it just shows you that when we are tending to sort of create a lot of expected threat, we are sort of at least shooting, at least converting a chance or 2 here and there. But yeah, that late little sort of flurry from Leicester there is a little bit worrying.
I mean, as you say, I don't think it mounted to much in terms of XG, as we've shown, but yeah, maybe in terms of us territory, that kind of thing, it probably something to take note of, because we have conceded goals at late periods of games, and it only takes one chance or one opportunity for them to put away, and we know what our defense is like at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at, that's why we do the expected threat, is because it's sort of given us an example, a look through, if you like, as into where and how these teams are creating expected threat through passes in and around the box. So it means they're providing sort of, passes into dangerous areas, or we're letting them have possession in dangerous areas. So it is a key stat to keep a lookout for us, I think.
Yeah. And players that were, producing that threat, obviously dominated by Villa predominantly, Jordan Ayew in there, but Matty Cash, obviously providing the most. John McGinn there as well, within 20, I was on the pitch for 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Quite surprising to see Matty Cash there, really, because I thought he was unnoticeable in an attacking sense. But it just shows you where these players are sort of taking, having the expected threat, the passes, whether they're creating it from, and how they're doing in that stat. So we just need to see Luca Digne back up to that top mark, because that's where
Yeah,
he
because he
usually
used
is.
to be all the time up there. I mean, yeah, I'm saying just looking at that, Ian Maatsen within sort of 50. Obviously, he had the pass that caused the goal, but like, he was only on the pitch for 20 minutes. So it shows you how Leicester, I guess, were set up to stifle and to really frustrate. But also paints the other picture of Villa, that we didn't probably pull them around enough, and we didn't play quickly enough in terms of moving the ball through the thirds, or moving the ball out wide, or getting the ball into the box. It just lacked that little bit of urgency until sort of that 60th minute.
Yeah, I think because especially I thought because James Justin's a bit Leicester right back, sort of very tempting into a tackle quite a lot, makes a lot of fouls. James Justin, I just thought Luca Digne had opportunities there. They could really have sort of created something there between them. I think that's where we missed Morgan Rogers a little bit there.
Yeah, definitely. And you want to see Jacob Ramsey doing that more, and I just didn't see him. At the moment, he's kind of being quite safe with his movement, like 2 or 3 yards either side of the player. It's like almost showing the manager, I am asking for the ball, but you're not really asking for the ball, and that's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, safe is probably the word that I'd use, Rich. I think he looked maybe just coming back from injury.
Yeah,
maybe
of course. This is understandable.
Yeah, not too reliant on his body at the minute, maybe, and I think that will come. But yeah, again, take that opportunity.
Looking at said Matty Cash was the sort of highest in the expected threat, and also in terms of, this is a new slide that you've done. We might do a little bit more with this moving forward, but the distance covered, I think, on Matty Cash, nearly 15 kilometers covered, and Tyrone Mings as well, really high. Interesting to see how the distance that the players are covered, and then the touches as well.
Yeah, I mean, what caught my eye initially before I looked at the running step with the actual distance was look at the touches in the opposition third. Luca Digne, 33. Ross Barkley, 22. Leon Bailey, 23. Matty Cash, 21. So you can see that sort of shape that they're trying to get players into certain positions into that final third, create width, and then be able to move it centrally. So it's important to look at these things. But yeah, it just wasn't enough, was it? Sort of in an attacking sense.
No, and Watkins there to only 21 touches in total, and 4.5 kilometers covered. Now, we might look at this in future games, but whether that's a tactic that's being told of him to stay in certain areas, not do too much running. But I feel like in a game like a Leicester, where the defense is really deep, you kind of got to pull the players out and maybe drop deeper or cover more ground to kind of create space for other players. But again, we don't know what the tactics were asked to be employed by Unai Emery.
No, and that takes me back to the point I made about him drifting out wide. It may be the case that, like you say, that's trying to draw players, centre halves out to that left-hand side to create spaces centrally. But yeah, I mean, it's not great from him, really.
Defensive shape, again, that's picks to the, I guess, the passing sonars there, looking at Leicester very deep. Anything to note on Villa side?
No, I mean, yeah, like you say, Leicester very deep and everything else, but Luca Digne, this is defensive shape. So, we're actually, you can tell we are a little bit higher there on average. And the PPDA at 6 tells us that we were looking to press that a little bit higher. So you probably expect to see the defensive shape and the action height a little bit higher than that, which it is. So, yeah, it's kind of neither here nor there, is it really?
No, and I'd just like to have seen us, if Digne was left and the most advanced there, and this probably is to do with Torres not playing and obviously getting used to Mings back in the side and him getting used to kind of these passes. I guess it's those like through ball passes that Digne is on the run, and then he's behind the last line of defense, or we saw it in the first half where Bailey was trying to do it to Cash, but it just wasn't coming off. They were just going out of play, or they were getting intercepted. So I guess and these games happen, right? At the end of the day, we got the win, and we managed to find a way to win, which is all important. And sometimes the substitutions as were made are the key to it. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just nice to. It'll be interesting to see further forward if we can get back to that kind of, really penetrating football.
Yeah, I think that's where, like I say, where we missed Morgan Rogers was that sort of ball from Torres into Rogers, from Rogers out to Dina on the run. And Jacob Ramsey didn't really fulfil that role, did he?
No, no. Final one, the zones of control. Again, obviously Villa kind of dominating. You're looking at left-hand side again there. Anything that you kind of picked up on that?
No, I mean, again, you said it. We control. We did. This is pretty almost identical, isn't it, to the game last week? And yeah, left hand side, we're controlling it well, but we're not actually getting much from it, and we know that because we saw the Luca Digne touches in the opposition box. We saw that the expected threat from him wasn't that high. So even though he's positioned there, we're not actually producing anything from that. So that's where data is really important to see, because we can see that, like I said, we're controlling that left-hand side, but we look at the numbers of what players and what we're getting from it, and it's not enough.
And would you put that to numbers of players that we're getting into the box for him to aim at? Are we looking at, is Digne getting into those areas? Like we've said, he likes to put crosses in sort of from that corner of the box to arc them in. But sometimes, we saw where the goal came from. It's like, can you get to that byline to cut it back, to make defenders have to turn? Is it down to that? What would you say?
I think it's half and half, because I think Luca Digne, most of the time, I did a graphic, but I can't find it now. But he did swing in a couple of crosses, but nowhere near to the volume that he normally does. And again, I point back to Ollie Watkins maybe being outside the box a little bit more. So that's a number out of the box. And we've said it on the last pod. Bailey and Cash, they need to be getting in that box when Digne is crossing out. That adds extra numbers. It's all very well having a midfielder in there. Tielemans doesn't really go in there. He tends to stay out. So you're looking at either John McGinn, Ollie Watkins, or Leon Bailey. Well, if Leon Bailey doesn't get in there and Ollie Watkins is drifting out, you're left with then no one. So yeah, part of it is that, isn't it? But you've also got to say that if he is controlling that left-hand side, that's a balance they've got to strike, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, at the end of the day, the most important thing is we got the 3 points. And Leicester, they had a pretty decent performance against Man City, and they would have took heart from that. They're obviously trying to be more difficult to beat, which is, seems to be the tactic that Van Nistelrooy is employing to help them to try and pick up results to stay in the division ultimately, and something that I think the promoted team should try and do a little bit more, rather than trying to come up and say, "Oh, we'll just play how we did in the championship." So, be interesting to see how they progress for the rest of this season, if they're going to keep on that trend. But yeah, 8th in the table now, mate. Just 3 points behind Newcastle, 4 points off 4th, with Chelsea obviously faltering. It's still all there to play for 2025.
Yeah, it is. I think, even though we sit here and we criticise them, but we're analysing. I don't like to think it as criticising. I like to think it as we're analysing it. And I think, yeah, you're right. To play, we're not at our best. So, to be those small margins, small amount of points off of 4th is important. But can we win the important games moving forward? That's key, I think.
Yeah, and hopefully with a couple of additions coming in the window, we'll obviously do another show this week, focusing on one or two others. There's more names getting discussed as well, so we'll obviously bring them into it later this week. So that will hopefully give us a boost. And then we've got West Ham in the Cup, which I don't know how seriously that'll be taken, but then away games against Everton and Arsenal. So look, big opportunity for Villa in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Like you say, we discussed it, didn't we? How serious will he take the FA Cup? Not quite sure, but yeah, a lot of games for Champions League, especially like you say in February and everything else. So yeah, it's going to come thick and fast. But I'd say, like you say, those additions in January, if we can get at least 2 in, it could really give us that little bit of a boost.
Yeah. Well, Gareth, thank you so much for jumping on again. Where can everyone find you? Because I know you've been putting these analysis from the games, but also analysis of players that Villa are interested in, or ones that catch your eye. So where can people find you?
Yeah, it'll all be on at that One Villa Analysis or my personal account at that Garate. JC will retweet everything. But yeah, get following that at One Villa Analysis because there's going to be quite a bit coming up there. So
awesome stuff, mate. Well, we will be back with Fans Forum and we've got a special guest coming, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Obviously, my Transfer Talk daily shows, which seem to be going down really well, which is excellent, and match preview for West Ham and all that jazz coming this week. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.